you pray with me? Gracious God, give us humble and teachable and obedient hearts, that we may receive what you have revealed and do what you have commanded. Amen. As some of you may know, my name is Jenny White, and I have attended Hillside Church for 10 years and have been on staff for 8. It is a blessing and a privilege and an honor to be up here this morning. So, we all have hurts and pains and heartaches in our lives. Some are more evident than others. So I want you to look to your left and look to your right and tell me, do you think that you can tell just by looking at somebody that you know what's going on in their lives? If you're sitting next to somebody you know, you might, but you might not know everything. You might not know everything they're thinking or feeling because we don't share those things. We like to keep those all to ourselves. Recently, I experienced something I have never experienced before. I was given a 2 weeks notice. I did not expect it, wasn't prepared for it, and it shook me quite a bit. So when we experience these things, it kind of messes with our thoughts quite a bit and our thinking, because it was an occupation that I had done for 23 years. So whenever I was told there wasn't a position for me as a new company was coming in and taking over the smaller company, my job was no longer needed. So it kind of made me feel like I wasn't needed anymore. I know that wasn't the intention, but whenever things like that happen you don't expect, your mind starts to wonder and race and think all kinds of things. It even made me question my identity because I thought that my identity was in that job. Maybe you've experienced something like that too. Not necessarily a job, which will come and will go, but maybe you've experienced something that you had no control over and you weren't prepared to let it go. Because it is a challenge to control your thoughts and your thinking. Stay positive in the situation. And some days even to put one foot in front of the other. And maybe it's a circumstance that doesn't just go away overnight. It takes some time. And it's easier said than done to put the past behind you and to walk into a new future. It makes us angry because we can't change that situation. We have doubt and hope for that future. We place blame of what happened. Place blame in ourselves and blame in other people of how we got there. It's just plain and simple. It causes heartache. These things are weigh heavy on our hearts. They weigh heavy on our minds. And not only just the emotions we feel, but our thoughts, our thinking, and our actions that cause it. Because those affect other people around us too. But I'm quite certain that we are not the first and the last people to experience something like this. I don't know if everybody's heard the story of the golden calf and Moses. I've heard of the story, but I never thought of it from the perspective that I did now, because I always thought, wow, somebody made a golden calf their idol. It's really weird. But I looked at it from the perspective of, wonder what they were thinking and how they were feeling. So to give you a little bit of background before we dive into our script, Moses had been gone up on Mount Sinai for 40 days. And he was speaking with God. God had inscribed the 10 Commandments on the tablets. And the people that he had led out of Egypt were down at the bottom of the mountain, and they were with Aaron. And they got restless because he had been gone for 40 days. And Moses was who talked to God for the people, and he talked to the people for God. And so without Moses, he didn't have any connection to God. They felt really distant. So in their desperation, I can only assume, and how they felt when he was distant, They went to Aaron and said, Aaron, God, Moses has been gone forever. Where'd this guy go? Can you make us a god? He said, yeah, I can. He said, bring me all your gold. And he made a golden calf. Some believe that the golden calf was because whenever they were previously in Egypt, they worshipped other gods. And the calf represented the mediator, the god of mediator. So that is a representation. So, when you hear that and you think, wow, a golden calf. But I can only imagine there's things when we experience that heartache, we do feel distant from God. We do wonder where he is. And we do get desperate and we turn to other things in our lives. So in Exodus 32, we'll start at verse 7. God spoke to Moses, "Go get down there. Your people whom you've brought from the land of Egypt have fallen to pieces, and in no time at all they've turned away from the way I commanded them. They made a molten calf and worshipped it. They've sacrificed to it and said, 'These are our gods, O Israel, that you brought out from the land of Egypt.'" So right there, they broke the first two commandments. The commandment to love one more than God, and nothing in your life is more important than God. And we think, wow, they were living in a time and they had God to speak to them and they had that. How could they have done that? But we've done it too. We've loved other things, other people more than God. We've turned to other things and other people more than God. I mean, for me, there's things, if I don't want to think about something, I get on Facebook and I start scrolling. Because I look at other people's lives rather than thinking of my own. I might sit and watch TV because I can just get lost in a movie. I don't have to think about my life. Until it comes to that I really have to deal with my own life. God said to Moses, "I look at these people. Oh, what stubborn-hearted people. Let me alone. Give me my anger free rein to burst into flames and incinerate them. But I'll make a great nation out of you." Moses tried to calm his God. He said, "Why, God, would you lose your temper with your people? Why, you brought them out of Egypt in tremendous demonstration of power and strength. Why let the Egyptians say, 'He had it in for them'? He brought them out so he could kill them in the mountains, wipe them right off the face of the earth. Stop your anger. Think twice about bringing evil against your people. Think of Abraham, Isaac, Israel, your servants, to whom you gave your word, telling them, 'I will give you many children, as many as the stars in the sky, and I will give you this land to your children as the land forever.'" And God did think twice. He decided not to do evil that he had threatened against his people. Moses pleaded on the people. Even though he knew that they had sinned and they had broke those commandments, he pleaded for them out of great love for them and reminded God, "Remember that promise you made years ago? That promise that you made, God." And God is faithful, and he keeps his promises. And even when we feel like he is distant in our heartache, he doesn't turn away. He doesn't close his eyes from the brokenness in our life. So despite our human response to turn away from God, even though we know what is true and what is good, God is still merciful. God placed Moses in that position to plead on the behalf of the people. He's done the same for us. Because the cross, that changed everything for us. God doesn't punish us when we sin. We just miss out on some blessings. But Jesus bore our sins. God's love for us does not change. If we believe that and we claim that, then we're in position to plead on the behalf of others and ourselves. We're in a position to let love lead, to fill us and to flow through us just as a conduit onto others. I know full well it is challenging to let love in when we are knocked down by life. It impacts our thinking. So let's look at Philippians, the words of Paul, and gain some wisdom and encouragement of how to do that. "Don't fret or worry. Instead of worrying, pray. Let petitions, praises shape your worries into prayers, letting God know your concerns before you know it. A sense of God's wholeness, everything coming together for good, will come and settle you down. It's wonderful what happens when God displaces worry at the center of your life. The Israelites, the people in Egypt, their worry went into the shape of a calf. I hope for you, your worry goes into the shape of a cross. Summing it up all, friends, I'd say you'll do the best by filling your minds and meditating on things true, noble, reputable, authentic, compelling, gracious, the best, not the worst, the beautiful, not the ugly, things to praise, not things to curse. Put into practice what you learned from me, what you heard and saw and realized. Do that, and God, who makes everything work together, will work you into his most excellent harmonies. Those scriptures don't mean life is going to be easy. It doesn't mean, oh, you've accepted Jesus, you're going to live on easy street now, that's all you got to do. It means we have a choice to make of what we think. We have a choice. We don't always get a choice of what happens to us, but we get a choice of how we react. We have a choice of how to direct our thinking in positive ways to make a positive impact for ourselves and for others. I've had to be pretty careful, especially because it's only been 3 weeks since I got my 2 weeks notice. And in the last week, I can feel some bitterness growing in there when I get something in the mail as if I'm still working there, or a 401k that I don't even have. Or if I see an ad in the paper for the company that I work for, it reminds me I wasn't invited to the next stage. But I know it's only a circumstance, and it'll pass. And my identity was not in that job. The skills and everything that I learned over all those years, I still have. My identity is in Jesus Christ. And I know God holds my future. And I know that he has hope and a future for me. So what things are you thinking about right now that your mind needs a reset? How can you turn your thinking into anything that is true and beautiful? Will you trust that God has something bigger purpose in your life than your current circumstance? Will you make a choice to reset your thinking, to allow love in your life, and let it flow into others in your life? I want you to consider what would happen if you did. If you reset your thinking, do you think you could bring hope in your life? Your faith can grow? You think if you let love in your life, that they can be used by God to bring love to others? There could be something you need to plead to God for right now. Maybe there's someone in your life that you need to plead to God for. No matter what our circumstances, our identity is in Jesus Christ. God is love, and love is a choice, not a feeling. It is out of that great love that he gave his one and only Son for us. So what would things look like in your life if you chose love despite the circumstances you're facing, especially when you don't feel the love coming in? Let's pray. I pray, Lord, that with your help, we can make a choice to reset our thinking, to think on these things that are true and noble and reputable, authentic, compelling, and gracious, the best, the beautiful, things to pray. May we think on these things. Amen.